We are live and we're super excited. We are here
We are
today.
live. We are here. I am very excited
I'm
for our
excited.
guest because he has so much to offer and it's such needed information right now in the world. So,
Welcome to the Lynn and Debbie show. I'm Lynn and you are the beautiful.
I am Debbie.
Yay. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. We are live. This is the Lynn and Debbie show, and we are super excited about our guest, somebody I grew up with, and just a great down-to-earth story we have. But before that, we just want to let you know that this is actually our final scheduled on Tuesday noon show because Miss Debbie's got something to share with you guys.
Yes. So, lucky me, I have started my new show. It hasn't officially started yet. It'll start on the 27th, and then it'll go all through May, all through June, until eternity on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is called Find It. Find the story. Find love. Find kindness. Find compassion. Find whatever our guest has to offer to help us find it. So tune in, follow me. We'll have a great time.
And for the Lynn and Debbie show, and for the Lynn and Debbie show, we're going to do pop-ups. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go back to my Live, Love, Laugh, and Let Go Out show. And I'm going to do some local B-Town Billings shows and Syracuse shows and help produce and help other people like Debbie grow her show. So no further ado, somebody that I do a show with too, and that Debbie will have on her show. And it's a great thing in the community we're building. So without further ado, I have a little intro video and we're going to take it from there. So we'll be right back. See ya. This is our last
intro.
Okay, here we go. So hold on. Welcome back. We are live. This is welcome back. Hey, Scott. Thanks for coming. And you're always busy doing some important teaching. So we are grateful that our last show is with somebody that's so special to both of us now.
Lynn and Debbie, both of you guys, I've been looking forward to this. We had a great time the other night on the air and got into some great discussion. And, and I'm just support you guys and you guys support me. And that's how this all works. So, thanks for your support, first of all, in all of my adventures. And then whatever we do moving forward, it's good stuff.
Yeah. And look, we even got Scott. See, Scott travels, man. Scott is he's double duty. He reminds me of Larry Snyder, who supported our shows, who passed away last month. So Scott, when I see him, I think of Larry too. So that means a lot to me, comes from my heart when he's here. So thank you. So those are all the two guys that are always there to support our shows. So but welcome, Sean. Welcome.
Hello, Sean Benson.
So this is going to be kind of like a two-part thing, I think, because I think Debbie and I were talking, and I know that she's going to want him as a guest on her show.
Oh, definitely.
And we don't want to have redundancy. We're not about that. We don't pass down the same path. So it's exciting. So how about if we just start from how all this started, the connections, the 6 degrees away from Kevin
of
Bacon. Separation. Yeah. So Scott, why don't we just start out with just where you grew up, so to speak, and then fast forward into where you're at now, because we really want to talk about where you're at more.
So. Well, let me give you just a quick little bio, so to speak. That way we know what we're talking about today. I grew up in Syracuse, and of course I knew Lynn back when we were 13 and 14 and 16 years old.
Grade, 12.
But much of my life has been marred by alcohol and drug abuse. And it came from my family. It started with that, growing up in that environment, growing up with violence and uncertainty of safety. Definitely no certainty of love because addiction ran the households. We moved around a lot, and lo and behold, like most cases, the one thing I swore I would never become, I became. And those traumas and all the other things came along, and I ended up being an alcoholic and drug addicted human being, an adult. I became a husband, and not a good one because of my addiction. I became a father, and quite frankly, not a good father either. So I went through that, and it was many years of struggling and reaching bottoms that I thought I would never reach until I found recovery. I spent a lot of years working in TV and radio. Sometimes I might come off a little bit like a car salesman, and I apologize for that. I'm not trying to get anybody to buy a Kia today. It just naturally comes out that way. But I am passionate. I am completely passionate about recovery. I'm completely passionate about helping people with addictions, with mental health disorders, with trauma and PTSD. I am completely about that. That's what my life and my direction has taken me. And no matter what I've done in my life, I've never been more fulfilled than when I'm helping another person or sharing a part of my story that might help somebody else. So that's kind of like the quick fast forward of what we're doing. I'm in recovery now 18 years, and it's the best 18 years. And each year gets better. Each year gets better.
Well, congratulations on 18 years.
Congratulations. And Scott, I just want to go ahead and let people realize one thing you said, and we all do this, and if there's something we all can learn and do forward, is that we should never say never to things, because that's where you're heading, you know? And so again, and so I love that we can admit where we were, and we say that to people so that they know, be careful what you prophesize on your own self does come to fruition.
Nobody sets out with a plan to become an addict or to become an alcoholic.
No.
When you go to career day at high school, they don't have the police, the fire department, the hospital, and then the drug dealer. They don't have the table. They don't have a booth on career day. You don't play, kids play cops and robbers in the streets. They play cowboys and Indians. They don't play rehab. They don't play drug addiction. They don't do that because that's not what we're supposed to be. It's not what we're born to be. We're born to be loving, caring, decent human beings who take care of each other and they just want to have fun. I don't care what side of the tracks you come from. I don't care where you're from. You got a big red truck, you're my best friend. I mean, that's what our life was. And as adulthood comes along, we start to bury ourselves in more and more frustration and anxiety and trauma and everything else. And we start looking for quick fixes. We start looking for cures and crutches, if you will. And that's where a lot of us find our addiction. Nobody sets out to do this. When I honestly said, when I growing up in a situation where my mom was drunk or high for days and we didn't have any food and nothing was happening, and there was, maybe a guy in the house who would come in and just beat the hell out of us. And I'd say, this is never going to be my life. I truly meant it at the time. But the problem is the only one I ever said it to was me. And so all of those things, all those desires stayed locked up inside of me with all of that trauma. And sooner or later, you become the beast that you fear the most.
Yeah. Theodora wants to be your best friend like me and Teresa and everybody else. Scott is one of the biggest loving teddy bears, good person. I'm just so proud of him. And it's hard to say, oh, I'm proud that you became a drunk while we weren't talking for 30 years, Scott. But that's the thing. We got to go through things to be and become who we are and what we're destined to do.
Well, Scott, I have a couple of questions.
Please.
After hearing you, and I really listened to what you said and the way you were raised and telling yourself, this is never going to be my future life when I get out on my own. At what age did you decide to start experimenting with drugs and alcohol?
8. 8, 9 years old, I was taking sips of things and looking for ways to numb myself. We had, my parents were separated or divorced. And, my father it was like one lifestyle my father was living, which was very straight laced and big boys don't cry and that kind of thing. And, you know, I'm going to tell everybody right now, my father's one of my best friends in the world now. We've come a long way emotionally together. But at the time, it wasn't emotional availability there. And then that was one half of my life. The other half of my life was being with my mom and being in that environment. And you're exposed to it so often. People just kind of zoning out and numbing themselves and laughing hysterically for no reason. And you're like, I want that because I'm tired of just crying. I'm tired of feeling alone. I'm tired of creeping off to a closet with a book and reading a book, trying to pretend I was anything but who I was. So even at that early age, you start looking for things. And I became obsessed with taking sips of people's drinks and things like that. So before I ever put it in my body, I was acting alcoholically in the pursuit of it.
Wow. Okay, I get it. It's almost like identifying, that's all you knew. So you were in that mold of that behavior before you ever even took a drink.
Exactly. That's when they're talking about like things like your environment versus genetics and other things. There's something
Yes.
called epigenetics, which is how your environment actually changes your genetics and changes how your brain functions. So there's actually a real physiological drive for me to get what everybody else around me has and not even understanding what that
Understood.
was.
See, and this is what I love about what Scott does is it's not just about drugs, alcohol, and stuff. He's wrapped his teachings and learnings into mental and the mental health that we go through because, you know, alongside him, I was moving with my mom and dad and, you know, divorced parents and stuff. And it's like you connect to people like we connected. We'd sit at the table and just look at each other and smile and say nothing. Like that was like the peace of quiet that we had in the chaos world that we were in, you know? So I'm just saying they all correlate to how we try to survive and we don't know what anyone else is going through, you
I want
know?
to add one piece to this
Yes.
before we move on, because I think
Yes.
it's important that people understand that when you grow up in that situation, I'm not looking at it like anybody else was wrong other than me.
Right.
Whatever was going on, the beatings that I took and the violence and
Yes.
the people disappearing and the not eating and all that stuff, somehow all of that became about me. It was not about these people are high, these people. I didn't understand that. What
Right.
I understood was I'm not happy. It must be something wrong with me. And that's why you start seeking other things to make you more than what you are, because you're not fulfilled at all. And
You
but
you are
you're not as
self-medicating.
yeah, as an
Just
8-year-old child, you're not looking up and saying, hey, how come my family's so screwed up? What you're looking at is, hey, how come I'm the saddest kid in the world?
yeah.
So that's the environment is affecting me, but in a certain way, it's also changing my perspective on what addiction is and everything else. Addiction isn't a problem. Addiction is all my fault. It's everything that was going on was my fault.
Wow, well, it's really interesting. I have read about children saying they really felt like whatever was happening, whether it's their parents divorcing, whether it's drug
Yeah.
and alcohol addiction, that they felt like somehow it was their blame. And so coming right out of your mouth, you truly felt like that. Now, I'm really interested in this. So at sips, taking drinks, things like that at 8, 9 years old, at what point did you at that point back away from it and get help when you got in your teenage years, or did it continue to escalate through those years? Tell us a little more about that.
What happened was interesting because as I was starting, my mom was stopping. She was getting help, and I had already started my process. So by the time I was about 12 years old, 13 years old, my mom was working with people in using 12-step programs to stop her own behavior. And even to the point where now I'm upstairs as a young teen drinking and getting high, but then coming downstairs and my mom has a group of people in the living room. They have candles lit and they're saying the Lord's Prayer because it's part of a meeting they were doing. And I thought she joined a cult. I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. But so after she was sober for a period of time, about 2 years or so, she started to recognize my behaviors because she hadn't even seen them before because she was in her own fog.
Right.
And so at the age of about 16, I was getting sober. Now that
How?
sobriety lasted me about 10 or 11 years. And I
So
How did
eventually,
you
so
do that at 16?
So question for you right there. So when you were back at Corcoran, were you sober kind of then?
I was sober at Corcoran.
11th grade? Yeah.
I was sober at Corcoran.
Yeah,
That's when we
what
were
I
in high
thought.
school together.
Yeah.
How did I do it then? I think then it was, I hadn't gone far enough down the rabbit hole with the alcohol and drugs that it was very difficult to stop.
Okay.
What was difficult for me was everybody I knew was doing it. And how am I going to, once again, I'm going to be like alone, like I was as a child. If I stop drinking and using, I'm an outcast again. But there was enough. The beautiful thing was there was people that came into my life right at that time, recovering people. Karen Hurley was one of them. She was one of my mom's best friends, and they were sober together. And she's been with me for 42 years, helping my sobriety and stuff.
That's amazing.
I stopping then wasn't a big deal because I never really understood what that meant. I still acted addictively. I still acted in a bad way. And there's a way you could put down the drink and drugs and not change your life, and you're still kind of going downhill. It's not until you start to address all the stuff up here and in your heart that you start to change. So let me tell you, this my first round, my first 11, 12 years. What I was the AA wonder kid. I could speak well. I was never afraid of speaking in front of people. I could always put on a great act, and I had everybody fooled into believing I was this great sober guy. The only one I never fooled was me. I knew something was wrong, and I knew eventually I was going to drink again. I knew I was. I never really gave up. Wow. So what happened was after that 12 years, I relapsed. I decided one day I'm not a child anymore. I can handle a drink. It's not that big a deal. They're all full of crap anyway. I'm just going to go have a drink. And that started me on a 10-year run that I can only compare it to the pits of hell with what happened. I drug everybody and anybody that was near me down into the pits with me, including my children, my wife, my family, my parents, my brothers, strangers. I was grabbing onto everybody and dragging them down. And everything I said would never happen to me happened to me, from sitting in jail to not having a place to live, to having the state come to take my kids away, to laying in a hospital with tubes coming out of me because my heart was going bad. Yeah. I know that's a lot to process.
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
And while you take a minute there, Deb, to ask your next question, Carrie is from Corcoran with us, Scott, and she has something to say here.
Carrie Flanagan. I never felt my fault. I never felt it was my fault. But being oldest of 6 kids, my mom made me her best friend and thought I should take care of or be responsible for my siblings and dad's actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Generally, there's usually one child, and that's a role that I filled, that was the rescuer who was going to take care of things. At many points, I was the one trying to find food for my brothers. I even took beatings for my brothers at times when I felt that they weren't strong enough to handle it. But at times I became my mom's best friend in her early recovery while she was still trying to find her footing at being okay. I was the one to be her best friend and everything and to try to help her out. So I totally understand that. But almost as bad as feeling like it's your fault is becoming parentified, that you have to take care of the people that should be taking care of us.
Yeah.
And addiction robs us of that. Addiction and mental health disorders does the same thing. Mm-hmm. Extreme depression and anxiety can rob families the same way that addiction does. It takes away the structure that is supposed to build us into being supportive, loving human beings, and it creates this insane kind of chain reaction of who's taking care of who today. It's difficult. Carrie, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mary Kay.
Right.
And Mary Kay, thank you so much for supporting Scott's. I love this girl. Mary's such a great supporter of all the shows, and I appreciate you. We appreciate you and love you for that too. And again, I'm going to be parallel because I know behind the scenes on our show Tuesday with the 3 of us, I admitted to you guys, and I don't talk about my mental illnesses or my PTSD or those things, because those are still something I wouldn't say shameful in my life, but they're things that I don't want to be defined or glorified or seen in the light, next to mental illness. I don't always talk about that, but you've helped me to say, Lynn, it's okay. because like I said, you either go to drugs and addiction or you end up having mental health. And that's really the bottom line, because I raised my brothers and sisters. I starved 5 days a week with my brothers and sisters, and I took care of them, and I would take beatings for them. And that's in my book and all that other stuff. But I'm just saying that all these things, one vice or another, we all end up taking an avenue, whether you admit it or not. We are affected one way in all this situation, without a doubt.
I do. I want to ask Scott. Well, let's see. Oh, Carrie.
Carrie
Yeah.
said, thank you.
Yeah. It is great what he's doing to spread awareness, Carrie. Yes. You're absolutely right. Scott, I guess one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking and giving us some of your background, a snapshot really of your background, is, do you also agree that, and even with what Lynn was just saying, mental health issues, and then also coupled with maybe childhood traumas like you had? I mean, you weren't a naturally depressed or anxiety ridden child. You were lonely and had probably abandonment issues. Taking leadership roles as a parent when you were a child yourself, that's not the way it should go. I feel like there's a stigma attached to all of these things. And instead of people reaching out and getting the help that they need, they really don't even know it's available to them. And at that age, who knows that? So what, in your opinion, and also with what you're doing, and we'll get more into that later, do you suggest for even parents who may be using drugs right now that are watching, and they know, I have children, I hate what I'm doing, but how can they help their kids while they're trying to help themselves?
Well, it's difficult when you're dealing with family members. It is quite difficult to give them the assistance that they need, because my daughter had a problem with addiction, and I really wanted to help her. And even being sober myself, I thought, well, I've got this under control. I could do this. The problem is, every time I deal with my daughter, the role of father or daughter never changes. I cannot step away and be objective. I cannot step away and say the things that need to be said. Everything I do is about protecting my little girl. So I had to step away and have somebody else step in. The best advice I can give you, if you're dealing with addiction in the family, is get someone else outside that's involved. Because as a mom, a dad, a brother, sister, husband, wife, or son or daughter, we're always going to have those roles, and it's always going to conflict with getting to the truth about addiction. Addiction hides. I mean, we hide. We don't hide from strangers. We hide from the people that know us the most. So though that it creates that wall all of a sudden. Get help. Call us. You can call us at ATC if you want, but call somebody. Call your local clergy, something like that. Get someone else involved who can be more objective, because we can't do it. We can't do it as family members.
No, and I agree with that. So even like what you're saying, it resonates, right? Because whether you're a parent who has an addiction yourself or not, if your child has addiction issues, mental health issues, any of the rest, just reaching out for help is not a weakness. It's a strength, because we can't do this on our own.
Right.
And I know on the bottom of the screen, if there are people who are watching and don't know where to turn, there is a call Karen, right?
Karen.
Yeah,
I spelled it wrong.
786-514-0893. That's 786-514-0893. If you have any questions, if you want to know how to find proper treatment or where to find an interventionist or anything, just a simple question. Listen, we answer these questions all day long, because it's the simple questions that are going to save lives. And there are no dumb questions. The only dumb question is the one you didn't ask.
Yeah.
So,
and Mary said something here.
Oh, Lynn, there's no shame in any of this stuff. It's like having food stuck to your dishes. Do what you have to do to clean them, including asking for help. We all have dirty dishes in one way or another.
I
like it, Mary Kay.
Thank you so much for that, Mary Kay.
That works as long as it's not dried on grape nuts, because then it's over. Just throw the plate away. Is that
like concrete or what? It's done.
Exactly.
It's toast. If you don't rinse that immediately.
Grape nuts.
Grape nuts. I love grape nut cereal.
I wanted to
Oh,
mention something.
cereal.
We've all
Oh,
mentioned the
yeah.
word stigma a couple times.
Mhm.
Stigma. Stigma is a matter of timing. There was a stigma around being an orphan for years, and that's gone. Being an orphan is not like something that puts you down. There was a stigma about being a single parent for many years. Being a single parent, it put
Murphy
a
Brown,
label
remember
on you.
that?
It's not a stigma anymore to be a single parent. We've talked about it enough and we've normalized it. Stigmas about mental health and stigmas about addiction, their time has come to end. It's time for that. It's the timing is over. We can't afford to have stigmas. We can't afford to have people remain silent. If you have somehow found a way to live with and or conquer your addiction or mental illness, you need to share that, because the person sitting next to you, you might have exactly what they need to hear. And if we're not sharing it because we're afraid somebody's going to look at us differently, listen, when I was throwing up in the streets and had vomit hanging from my beard and piss stains in my pants, and I walked around looking like that in my town, in front of the people who watch me on TV, in front of my children, in front of my family, if I wasn't going to be ashamed of living that way, I better not be ashamed of living a better way. No more shame, no more doubt, no more guilt. And guilt and shame have no place in a life of recovery. You got to move forward. You got to be proud of who you are. The stigma has to stop. And they label it like stigma came along from somewhere else. We created it, and we could stop it.
All right.
Start
That's
talking
great.
about your addictions.
Scott,
Talk
that's
about mental health.
powerful. This is, can we just repeat that again for everybody listening? We create the stigma. Stop. Stop
Yeah.
it.
And it's funny because I sit there as an introvert and I sit there not wanting to, I just recently did the whole lipedema thing and whatever, and it's like, I really want to help the cause with the ATC and getting certified and all that. But I feel better, and I do podcasts and I do all this network stuff because I know there's a lot of people out there like me. So when I call myself out, not to make anybody else feel uncomfortable, but I know I need to do what I speak for the silent people. I speak for those that, until I was 42, can I sexually say I'd been abused by my uncle that had Down syndrome? I mean, like, these are not easy things for me to profess or to admit, or my ex-husband who passed away trying to commit me in the state mental institution. I mean, these are things that are not easy for me to say. But if it's going to help somebody else that feels the way I do, I can't hide from that. If, like they say, if you can't do it enough for you, do it enough because you care and love people and you want to always talk about positivity. So, you guys the other night made me like feel more comfortable to talk and be more vulnerable about these things that, I'm not happy that I feel so shameful, of being Puerto Rican or being this or big bootied or all these damn stigmas that they're all stuck to my ass. And that's why they're big and swollen. What
Just
can
like
I say?
grape nuts on a cereal bowl. Look
Just
out.
call me grape nut. But again, this is the thing, talking about the elephant in the room.
We argue for these things. We argue for our own limitations. We don't argue for our triumphs. We argue for our limitations constantly. I can't. What people are saying. I mean, here's the bottom line. I mean, speak your truth and let it be truth. Yeah. That's it. Nobody's worse or better because they've been through something.
Right.
I've met people in my life who have never had a problem in their life. They bore the hell out of me. There's nothing interesting about them.
Let's bring this up.
We need to wear our scars. What's that?
The fact you make me laugh. And when we had our conversation before, you said, I bring humor into my life and I laugh about things. And I'm not going to be sour about it. And, these are the things that happen. And, I so appreciate you saying that because, listen, it's not ever funny that someone has an addiction. We're not ever saying that. But you've lived it, Scott, and you're choosing to find joy and happiness every day of your life during this recovery. So the other night when you said what one person thinks is trauma, another person may think it's just another Tuesday, right. And so that made me giggle because it's true. We also can't judge other people for what they think is traumatizing in their life versus what other people may be able to handle. So anyway, you're funny. So let your little light shine. You just keep making us giggle.
Let me put this pain in perspective for you. we've all had serious pain. Childbirth is a serious pain. Apparently, I was there, didn't feel it. Unless I'm going to open an umbrella up my butt, I have no idea what you guys are going through. I have no idea. I get it.
You say kidney stones are closest to.
I totally
that
get it.
umbrella up the butt. That's about what it's like.
Yeah, but I've broken bones, and I've torn ligaments, and I've had pain, and I've been like stabbed with things, and different things have happened to me that have been really painful. We've all had extreme pain at one point. But let me tell you, if any one of us gets up tonight at 2 a.m. and stubs our toe on the coffee table, the little toe, when you stub the little toe and you could actually hear it crack when you do it, that is the worst pain. In that moment, that is the worst pain you've ever felt. Does it really compare to childbirth? No. Does it really compare to a broken bone? No. But in that moment, that is everything to us. What we have to understand when we're dealing with addictions and people with these kind of disorders and PTSD, what they're feeling at the moment, while most of society will say, just pick yourself up. What's wrong with you? They are in such extreme pain, such extreme agony. And it doesn't matter what the cause of it is. It could be a broken shoelace at the wrong time. It could be a crash car. It could be a death of a relative. It could be a million different things. But what they're feeling at that moment is the world to them. What we need to do is empathize, connect with, and show them there's another way. The war on drugs didn't work. We spent $1 trillion trying to cut off drugs to the United States, and we've done nothing to save one human being. Not one life was saved in the war on drugs. They spent over $1 trillion. The war should be on helplessness, hopelessness, apathy, and people who are lost. That's where the war belongs. The war belongs on the people who are in the streets thinking they can never change. The war should be on the mom who's home trying to raise 3 kids, and the only thing that gets her through the day is her Xanax. That's where the war should be fought. Not with Pablo Escobar, but with Barbara next door or John down the street. That's where the war should be fought.
Well,
the war should be fought with our hearts and with our hands. And I know that's really preachy, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize, because the thing is the emotions. People forget. They want to be acknowledged about their own emotions, but then you forget to feel and respect other people's emotions, and it's about our emotions and letting people be heard and known. And Theodore said, whoops, let's see, here we go. And
Theodore said, can I get an amen?
Yeah, can I?
Absolutely.
Can I get an amen?
So, and then Carrie here, she says, what is
the saying, Scott? You can look in the rearview mirror, but don't look in the rearview mirror, but don't stare in the rearview mirror, because you want to see where you're going. You're going to hit something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, again, it's really important for us to realize that we all have emotions, and we should respect people's emotions. And I'm not talking about, people do get their feelings hurt right away, but the 4 agreements is really good in that point. Don't take everything, that's a really good point. But you know what, Scott, I want to get to this before we leave here, because it's so cool, and you'll be able to explain this here in a minute. But I love that, like you said, you got your toe stubbed, and it hurts. But then if you put the focus on something else, that lessens that pain, though. That helps.
Oh, it still
as
hurts.
a mechanism. It hurts, but
ouch!
But you still, if you focus on something else, you can have something expand. And I'm going and shifting that way to say that I love, Scott, how you found your passion for painting, and I want to bring up some masterpiece. This guy is amazing. This guy can sing. This guy can help people, and I'm just like his number one fan. Not a creepy fan, but a close best friend fan.
It's totally fine. There's no judgment zone here. You can be as creepy as you want to be.
Okay, but anyways, seriously though, I want to bring these up. Look at this. This was Scott's doings. Scott, if you want to talk about this.
Yeah, give it.
This is just something that I picked up about 2.5 months ago. I decided I wanted to start painting, and I'm a big fan of music. And, these are kind of my rock and roll icons here. I think I threw a Marilyn Monroe in here for something, a little bit of flavor, but I'm just kind of finding my rhythm in my painting style, and I'm having a blast doing it. And I realize there's so many people in recovery that are so talented. They've hidden their talents for so long that I've started soberlifeart.com, and we're going to be gathering all of these, and you can see soberlifeart.com, and we're going to be selling paintings, poetry, photographs, anything artistic that people are doing, and donating a portion of the proceeds will be going to helping first responders deal with PTSD and addiction.
Which
Wow.
I'm glad you brought that up, the heroes.
That is so cool.
You
Let me
talk-
just react to that for a minute. Did you
Please.
see those paintings?
Thank you.
Like you just a couple months ago decided, I think I'll start painting. What?
You
That
know what?
looks
I'm
like
gonna play 'em real-
amazing.
I'm going to play them real quick while you talk about real quick, because this is just awesome. Talk about the heroes, the helping the firefighters.
I mean, I
and
totally know
stuff.
who every single one of these who these people are, because they are dead on, and it's so cool the way you
Well,
did
this
it.
one's
It's
my
not
friend
like,
Gary. That was my
Yes.
friend Gary, but everybody else is famous. Yeah.
but I mean, listen, the thing is, you've done this in a way that's extremely unique, with that flair of the coloring and the blending of the paint, and it's not like your typical portrait. You've made it super rock starish. I think Hard Rock Cafe needs to get involved in this and
Right?
have a big event for you. I mean, for the cause,
know.
I appreciate that.
soberart.com.
We've had a few people approach already and talk to me about having a gallery night and being able to do something like that. So we will be working with somebody. As you just heard, just moments before we went on the air, we got a commitment from a band that's going to do a charity concert to help raise money for our nonprofit. And again, our nonprofit is called One Brother, One Sister. It's about helping first responders, fire, police, paramedics, military, help them deal with addiction and mental health issues, because they unfortunately, the role of hero leaves little space for them to ask for help. So we want to make sure they have the help directly within their department, so they don't have to reach out to others. And that's what we're trying to do for them.
Julie, who just made I love this so much. Julie is a very dear friend of mine who is a police officer, and she's saying she loves this so much.
Julie, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you for your service.
And she was in the military before she was a police officer as well.
And
she's crying.
Yeah, this means a lot to me, because my older brother, who's next month will be 5 years, he's been passed away. He was in the ambulance in the, in New York, they have the Explorer. He was an explorer. He was in the ambulance voluntary, and he served our country as an MP guy. And he, was in law enforcement and a cop and all that stuff. So, I mean, all this stuff is just near and dear, and I just love it. And so, thank you for what you're doing, and so proud of you and your recovery, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
So again, when you don't think you matter, we all matter, and we all matter by the memories and the things we all go through, and we realize. And by the way, I've met Scott's mom, beautiful lady, love her. And as a mom, sometimes we don't know that when we're hurting and we're going through things, that our kids suffer too. And we wouldn't have never, and just like you feel, Scott, we would have never wanted to hurt our children. We just didn't know better to do better. And so it's a cycle that, we can't change what we did to our kids. And so, going forward, all we do is pay it forward and try to do better, so other people don't go through what we went through.
That's true, Lynn. And I got to say, when you said that, it made me remember too, when we were talking about looking in the rearview mirror, I've heard a really beautifully way of putting this, which is, we can visit the past, but you can't live there.
Right.
And that means a lot, because sometimes you do need to remind yourself of what your past included, because you're a product of what has happened to you, or your experiences. But what we do from this moment forward, every day, and the present is what matters most. It's a decision we make every day of what to do. And Scott is saying, Scott, you are so amazing. Thank you for what you are doing to help those with addictions and mental illnesses. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
But, I wanted to ask you too, what you did to get to a place where, when you were in the streets and you had vomit on your beard, what was the moment of clarity and that pushed you to this final recovery of 18 years?
I was actually, it was the last time I was arrested. I was arrested for a DWI. And they arrested me. It was 5 blocks from my house. I almost made it. I took some shortcuts across some lawns and stuff too, but I almost made it to my house, and I got pulled over. And this was not one of those deals where it's like they do the breathalyzer, they do this, they do that. When they opened the door, I fell out of the car because I was that inebriated. And so I blew a 0.4, which is like unheard of. It's like alcohol poisoning. And but that's the level I had reached where, every night I was drinking 2 bottles of NyQuil to get me through the night because I needed alcohol in me to be able to sleep. It was a very strange existence at the time. But anyway, I got arrested. And instead of turning down one street where they could have taken me to the police department, they drove and they continued past my house. And my house was on a corner. We stopped at that light and where my house was. When I looked over, as drunk as I've ever been in my life, I was sober for one moment. And I was sober enough to look in my house and see. I couldn't see who was in there, but I saw movement behind the curtains and the lights because it was nighttime. And I thought, everything's gone. And for the first time in my life, I realized I got nothing left. I got nothing left. And I can't look at my kids in the eye anymore. I can't hug my kids anymore because it was too painful. It was too painful for me to get up every day, and it was too painful for me to do anything else about it. And I was as sober as I'd ever been in that one moment. And by the time I got to the police station, I was drunk again. I don't remember much about that night other than just kind of losing it. A little bit of a mental breakdown. But that was the last time I had a drink. But when I came in this time, it was different from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I came in because it's all right. Let me see if I can be happy being so. I came in like only the dying people can. I came in and I said, I got nothing left. I got nothing left in that bottle. There's nothing the bottle can give me. And there's nothing left in my life. I just need a do-over. I need to start again. And that's what I did. And one of the biggest things that helped me was not shutting the door on the past, but learning from it. My sponsor told me at the very beginning, if you forget to remember, you're doomed to relive. I have to remember where I've been. I have to remember what I did. So that'll be the foundation upon what I'm going to build my new life. The mistakes we make is how we learn. And some of the mistakes are painful. Some of them are horrible, but guilt and shame don't help. And I had to embrace everything that I did. I had to own everything I did. No excuses. Jack Daniels made me do this, and speed made me do that, and meth made me do that. What I had to say was I did those things because I chose to put the alcohol in my body. I chose to put the drugs in my body. So by default, I chose to do all the things I did. The nice thing is when you own that you chose the bad path, you can also choose the good path. As long as you're a victim, the victim mentality allows you to change nothing. Mm-hmm. When you own your behavior, you could change anything. And that's where my life changed. When I owned all of that behavior, I no longer said I was violent because I was drunk. I said I'm violent because I'm a violent human being. The alcohol simply released it. I didn't steal because I was drinking. I stole because I'm a thief. I didn't lie because I was high. I lied because I'm a liar. And I started changing those things about me. And as I grew and as I changed, I realized the need for alcohol and drugs in my life was no longer there because I was building something better. I find more joy in a Sunday dinner. I had Easter dinner I cooked, and I had my mom was there. Karen was there. My friend Arthur was there. My niece Deanna was there. My kids were all over the country, so I talked to everyone. But sitting at that family dinner, I could have won the lottery. I wouldn't have been more happy because I know what it's like to go without those things. I know what it's like to turn my back on everything that loves me and everything that I can love. I know what it's like to do that. So I think really what changed is simply this, owning who I am. I'm not an alcoholic because I caught it from a toilet seat in Grand Central Station. I'm an alcoholic because I'm broken, because my thinking, my reactions, my actions, my emotions, and everything else were all broken. I had to fix those things. I can never drink again. That's fine. I don't care. Because I don't see anything in that bottle that's ever going to attract me again. I got too many good things on the outside. And every day I discover new things and I make new friends like you, Debbie. And I'll never, this isn't the kind of thing where it's like, oh, I just met her once and I'm going to stay with you because this is how my life is now. Recovery is not a torture. It's not a chore, and it's not a punishment. Recovery is a gift. It's a gift of you get to do your life over again and do it however you want. I don't know if I could ever make up for some of the things that I've done. I don't know if I ever can. But I know I'll spend the rest of my life trying. And I'm very, very happy to be doing that.
Wow. That got me.
I know. And Scott, I just want to say, though, for those people say, yeah, but Scott, but I have effed up so many times that those same people that I keep trying to mend to, I keep messing up. And now they don't like me. So now, because they don't like me, I can justify to you, Scott, it's not going to work for me because my friends and my family they're done giving me a chance. So what would you say to those that feel that way? And how can you help them to not forget that they're mad, these people are mad at them, rightly so, but how can you tell them to not, I don't know, like, how can you help them to not say, but I have it,
All right.
I don't even want to sound wrong with, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tie this up in a bow for you, because it's not a pretty bow. It's not well, if you live right, you're going to have unicorns in your front yard and everything's going to be beautiful. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying is it's got to get down and ugly. My kids should never talk to me again how I treated them. They should never talk to me again. But they're in my life today. And my daughter calls me Daddy-O. And I've got a granddaughter that I'm going to go see next month. I've got a grandson who's going to be born in the next 2 weeks. I've got a life, and I've got my kids are in there, and they never should be. They should never have forgiven me. They didn't forgive me because I went and tried to convince them to forgive me. They forgave me because I showed them that I'm different by living different and being different. If my job is, if I'm trying to convince people to love me again and accept me and to believe in me, if I'm trying to convince them of that, then I'm just doing the same con that I did back then. I'm saying I'm sorry without really being sorry. It's about making the change and having faith that when you make the change, the people that are supposed to be in your life will be in your life. And that's been the case for me. Not everybody has come back into my life the way I want them to, but they all came back in one way or one fashion where I don't have regrets, and I don't have that.
So
but own your stuff. Don't listen.
Own your shit.
Own your shit.
Own your shit.
We beat up everybody who loves us and knows us. We went after them and beat them down and beat them up and tortured them. We tortured them with our lies, with our lack of faith. We tortured them by faking love. We tortured them in a million different ways. They should not trust us. They should be afraid of us until they see the new person come out.
So stop being a victim because you have a disease.
Yeah. Don't be a victim. Don't be a freaking victim. You made your choices. Now, see,
come on.
Life is a simple change, people. If everybody puts their hands out like this real quick, and all the people in TV land and everything, put your hands out. And when I say 1, 2, 3, I want you to lock your hands together like that. Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, lock them together. Now, I want you to pay attention to which thumb is on top, the right or the left. Now, pull your hands apart. Now, lock them together again, but this time put the other thumb on top. How does that feel?
Weird.
It feels weird. It feels different. It feels strange, right?
Very weird.
It's such a small shift in our behavior, but it feels so awkward. And the only thing that will make that comfortable is time. But with time, that will become comfortable, and the old way will now become uncomfortable. And the only thing you could do is practice, keep working at it, and give it time, and life will change. But you know what? Find some joy. Smile along the way. Dance in the rain. Play music really loud. Sing in your car. Smile at the mailman. Just live. Just freaking live.
Scott, I'm glad you said that because I personally know 4 people that are watching that struggle with alcohol, and not ousting or telling you who they are. But I do know that they try to do better. And I think you just probably inspired them by doing that. And I want to thank them for being here. I know they're here watching, and I'm not going to say your names or nothing, but I want to thank you for being here because you're trying. I'm just saying, because I know you're not supposed to say nothing when you go to the meetings either. So anyways, let Debbie,
I do want to say, I want to say hi. I see Erica and Teresa and Sean and Julie and all of these people that are just really involved in this, right? Because it touches our lives, no matter if it's ourselves, a family member, someone we care about or know. We all know someone who has addiction issues, right? We just do. And so you being raw, real, and just truthful and like owning your shit for us, that helps other people empower. I do have a question. Theodora says, Scott, I need your help keeping high school age children in Romania. Is your program international? Yeah, because Theodora is from Romania, currently living in Denver.
Well, we do have a program that is actually online that might be able to work over there. I'd be happy to talk to Theodora. You got my information.
Yep.
You can message me and we could talk. But we'd love to push this out there to as many people as we can. We are throughout the United States now helping people as much as we can. You know, our goal is to train enough people that there's more people helping people.
Yep.
We can't just run around. I mean, we need more people. We need thousands of people out there on the streets helping each other. And that's what we're trying to train people to do.
Bad for almost 10 months. My ass is working on the division of the West part of the states. I've been, I'm going to ramp this forward because he wants to have representatives in every state doing this stuff because it's needed. And every day we don't is another day we're losing somebody. So keep that in mind. And I want to just quickly go through all this. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, I wanted Scott to tell people how they can get involved with the trainer course or what. I'm not really.
It's the intervention. It's becoming a certified event intervention. When people think of intervention, they think of the TV show intervention. This isn't like that. We train people to deal with people in a moment's notice, to deal with people in a moment of crisis. If somebody's in front of you and they're having a problem, we train people how to talk to them, how to connect with them, because you're connecting with somebody who's trying to hide themselves from you. So this is really an important skill, and we find it's very helpful. We've been working with everybody from Dog the Bounty Hunter to other people throughout the country to get this word out. If you want to get involved, if you would like to learn more, you can call Karen, who's my business partner. She runs all the phone stuff and she talks to people. She runs the whole business end. I'm in the back creating stuff. 786-514-0893. Or you can go and learn more about us at atceducation.com. It's atceducation.com.
And Scott, I
want to say one thing though, Lynn, thank you for always telling your truth. And Debbie, from what I've seen from you in just the short time that I've known you, you're looking for truth as well. And you're out there and you're talking about things that other people don't readily talk about. Thank you so much for what you guys do. And you guys actually legitimize why we do these kind of podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's you're amazing.
I know he's awesome.
Blown away by you. I've had chills. I've cried, I think, a little bit. It's just because it's so rare for someone to really put themselves out there like you have and just be so honest. And I had done a quick little Facebook Live video saying, ask him whatever you want, because he told me he'll answer.
And we got questions and stuff here too.
Oh, there's a bunch of people asking you a lot of things.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. Why not be out in the open? Who is the one person who has hurt you more than anybody else in your life?
Yourself.
You. Who is the one person who has bullied you more than anybody else in your life? You. Who is the one person who has limited you more than anyone else in your life? You. You're always going to be there. Your greatest enemy is sitting right in a chair with you right now. So what are you afraid of from everybody else? If you can defeat the one enemy, which is you, who's been holding you back, nobody can stop you. Nobody can hurt you. Say the words you got to say, but those are your words. They're not mine. So don't be afraid, people. Speak your truth. Tell your story. Own your story. And if you don't like it, remember, we're in the middle of the book. We're on a certain chapter. We still haven't written the end yet.
Yeah.
We haven't written the end yet. I got pen to paper right now. I'm writing my story every day, and it changes every day. And I have no idea where it's going to end, but I'm still in it. And so are you, everyone else.
And he is one of my best friends, and I love him dearly.
Scott, how did you do it? How did you, the last time you were enthralled with addiction.
Yes.
How did you, what advice can you tell our listeners? What worked for you? Yeah, I know you got,
we got to get to these questions before too.
But what did you, how were you able to take that moment, go to jail? When you got out of jail, what did you do? You never went back. You never drank again.
I found an anchor. I found an anchor to anchor me to a place that was safe. Everyone's anchor is different. You've got to look inside yourself and find out, what is it that really connects me to this planet? What is it that really connects me to my life? Even in our darkest despair, those moments when I put a gun to my head and I was just afraid to pull the trigger, but I really wanted to, but something kept me from doing it. What was it? What was my anchor? You know what it was? It was my kids. Yeah. Okay. And the one thing that I had to hold on to at the very beginning, I know everybody says you got to do it for yourself. That's garbage.
Yeah.
You do it for whatever keeps you centered and down there. Then it becomes about you. It became about me. But my anchor, I had to anchor myself completely and fully to the fact that one day I'm going to be a father that my kids deserve. And that is why I changed. It's because I realized that is the one thing that has kept me alive on this planet, the one thing that has stopped me from driving off the cliff or pulling the trigger. It's the one thing that's kept me from going so far down I'll never come back. It's my children. And I know I was laying in the hospital when my heart was going bad, and I said, I just want to die. And when my little girl Cordelia walked in the room, I said, that's it. Help me. Don't want to. I'm not ready to go. Find your anchor. Everybody else is different. It might be their spouse. It might be their parents. It might be their religion. It could be a return to your religion. It could be a return to whatever it might be. It could be music. Just the simple love of music that's your anchor. Get your anchor, plant it firmly in the ground, and hold on to that no matter what. And sooner or later, you'll realize you end up dropping. And next thing you know, you look around, you got 1,000 anchors around you. You got 1,000 things that are keeping you motivated and keeping you centered and keeping you from drifting off into the abyss. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And for the people who feel like I don't have an anchor, I don't have anyone that loves me, whatever. What do you say to them? But let me read this real quick because Teresa is a friend of mine. My family has been dealing with this for years. We have engaged in such a comprehensive way, and it has made a huge difference.
Absolutely. Communication, talking about it openly, working with your family. That's the beginning of everything. Teresa, I'm so glad it's working for you.
Did you see that? Do you want to read that, Scott?
Yes. And it was positioned to me that people have to walk as far out of the forest as they did into the forest. I love this. It is a process. Thank you, Teresa.
That's a great example of what it is to recover. You spend 10 years of your life in addiction, walking deep into the forest. And one day, and as you're walking in, you're falling down, you're getting dirty, you're getting scraped up, you're bloody, you're bleeding, you're hungry, you're tired, you're cold. And every step is pain. And one day you get to a place in the woods where you say, I don't want to be here anymore. Well, I'm sorry, it's not Survivor. The helicopter doesn't come and take you away. You've got to turn around and walk out. But the cool thing is that 10 years that I spent walking in, I was stumbling and fumbling with no direction. As I'm walking out, I have a clarity of mind, I have purpose, and I have a goal, and I have a clear direction. So as I'm walking out, I'm walking past all of my pitfalls. I'm walking past that tree where I hit my head. I'm walking past this ravine that I fell in. These are all of our traumas. We're walking past those, looking at them for what they are, but then moving on. And the trip out might be a lot shorter than we think. And what you'll find is when you look around, you'll see people that are walking out of the woods with you, and you kind of join hands with them. That's where we get fellowship and help and sponsorship. And you walk with them. And you can walk out with purpose. But you cannot leave those woods without passing the damage you have done and looking at it for what it is. But if you do that, own it as you go, I promise you your life is going to get better. I promise you.
I love it. And Carrie said, my therapist had me write my name in the left hand. Yeah, because you're using changing what you're doing, your patterns.
Excellent.
And so
I gotta say, Teresa says there's a great author, Jeff and Deborah J. They have 2 great books that our lives have been changed by. Yeah, it's amazing the things that, it's so fun. Thank everybody that's tuning in and making comments. It makes our conversation even better because it just jogs our memory on other things that we want to add. So thank you for participating. That's amazing. And I'm serious. Like, I have 1,000 more questions that I want to ask Scott myself. So I can imagine I've got to have you on the Find It show eventually. So we can just really delve into more if would give me the honor of that.
No, the honor's mine, Debbie. Absolutely mine. I would be pleased to share with you and share and listen. Spreading the word of the journey is the best thing in the world, and getting into schools and doing things like that. My ultimate goal is to get interventionists on every college campus and high school campus throughout the country, dealing with kids as they first find their drugs and everything else. We're in a crisis time, people, with fentanyl and everything else. We don't have time to sit and wait. We don't have time to say, well, they'll figure it out for themselves or wait for them to hit bottom. We don't have time for that. People are dying every day. And we have a responsibility to do something about it. Not as professionals, but as human beings. So join me in try to help heal the world. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here.
Thanks, Eric. He's going to watch this from the beginning. He just got in on this. It's been a lot, Eric. Believe me. I mean,
and this is only the beginning, because Scott and I and Debbie and everybody gets into this network. We're all here to help one another. And this is just like cancer. This is like anything else. Or death. We all know someone that died. We all know that somebody has cancer. We all know. And then there's people that are right next to you that don't even know, that are still alcoholics, that are working, functioning, that need somebody to love them and tell them, hey, there's a better way in life. And so, any final words you want to say, Scott, to anyone out there?
Listen, I know we're running short on time. I just want to say thank you to both of you. Lynn, for your friendship for all these years, obviously, and of course the fun we have doing the podcast together. Debbie, for putting your heart out there, and for doing these kind of programs. It means the world to me that there's other people. Every once in a while, when you're in the fight for good, you feel like you're kind of all alone, and you're kind of like fighting windmills like Don Quixote. There's nobody out there that has your back. But there's times like this when I say there's a lot of good people out there that want to do the right thing. So join us, and please just do the right thing. Help the people that need help.
And Debbie, your final parting words you want to say? And
I want to say that I just feel like I need to have him on speed dial just for regular stuff in my life.
Get you his
what do you
phone
think
number.
about this? But for everyone watching, Scott found his anchor. Everyone has one. You got to figure it out. And everyone's journey is different. And we can't judge one another. You just do what's best for you. And that's all I can say.
And before I leave, I want to read what Paul said. Sometimes you forget. Don't wait until something like this happens to have to make you change. Go ahead, Debbie, read that.
Yeah. So drunk drivers ran me over twice, 10 years apart, 97 and 07. First, left leg, and second, right leg. But it's always to help others, and your own problems don't seem so bad. I'm trying to understand what that actually meant. He actually was in a car someone that was drinking and driving ran into him.
Yes.
2 separate times. That's like lightning striking something. I've never heard of such a thing.
But the point
My goodness.
Yeah, maybe he lives over a bar. Just like he's in the wrong place. I don't know.
God love you.
But the point is I know Paul's not a sour person, for one. But 2, don't allow your addictions and what you're doing. Don't allow something like hurting someone like that in order to change your life. Right, Scott? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, don't wait. Don't just, you know what? Everybody's got trauma. Everybody's got something. And please, if you remember anything from this show, remember, if you feel like there's a stigma on something that you're going through, just know that stigmas are just made up by us. Yeah. It's not a real thing. And if you want it to change, start speaking your truth. And when voices get loud, that goes away. We'll create new stigmas. We'll have a new stigma for people who are left-handed. If you're left-handed, you should be ashamed of yourself. We'll figure something else out.
If you don't have enough guilt yet, we're going to find some more ways to give you some guilt trips.
Exactly.
Oh, shoot.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, we really need to go, because Scott has a lot of people that rely on him, and he's making a big difference here. And so we love you guys. And Scott, thanks for being for our last little show here. We will be doing pop-ups, and Debbie and I we're going for the sky and the moons, and we're going to hit so many people, and so is Scott. So, and I don't mean hit them, okay? I didn't mean that. We're going to love you till the cows come home. So
there you go.
Love and hugs to both of you. Thank you very much.
Yes. And I, like I said, Scott will be back in many ways, and the words will be out, and we love you all. And we're going to go. I just made this little thing. I designed this, and I'm so proud of this simple little thing I did. So here you go, you guys. This is my creation, because Scott's created somewhere else, but I'm finding my mojo somewhere else. So here we go.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me